All right, guys, today is the day the processor is being delivered sometime tonight, probably 7 or so. But I'm getting a head start. We're gonna start swapping over the equipment. Puppy's just got back from a walk and it's rascal time. So, I got a few things to show you here before we get started that have happened in between this and the last video. A couple pretty important things. So, first of all, I realized something the other day. Of course, laying in bed, and had another one of those this morning, and I realized something very important. When I set up and ran everything for my existing setup here, I didn't ever in the million years think I would be doing a rack. I thought, I'd have this or maybe something similar in the same spot, that kind of thing. I don't have the cable slack to install in a rack, and let alone be able to pull it out, and let alone be able to swivel it or anything like that. I might have enough to do most of it with some of the speaker wires at least. Definitely have enough with the subwoofer cables because I've got new cables going in and I can have as much slack as I need. Definitely not though with the HDMI cable. Most of that slack is way up in the attic. It goes 10 feet up and then over and then down and comes out behind the TV. It's a big, nice fiber optic, but I only have like 2 feet of slack coming out of the wall. Here's one of the junctions here. And I don't even think I would have enough to come down the bottom and through the rack and up and connect. So, gonna have to do something about that. So here's what I came up with. I ordered a couple firewall grommets. These were 2.5-inch holes, I believe. Got the corresponding metal hole saw and drilled them out. This top one will be for the subs and the HDMI cable, and they're gonna go right in line, give me my finger back, right in line with the processor, so the cable can come straight from the wall and plug in and have a little bit of slack at least when it's installed, and then all the speaker wires can come out of that. And now this does double duty. It not only allows me to connect, but it keeps everything even further away from all the power cables, which are gonna be coming out the bottom to the 2 wall circuits. So that's cool. And I really don't have the occasion to pull the cabinet out or swap anything in the back here, so that's not a big deal. In the event I do need to, there's plenty of room in the side just by popping off this side panel and just, unplugging the HDMI and feeding it through, and then I can roll it out and do what I need to, all from the side here. And that's also, didn't I? No, I didn't. I forgot. I've done a lot of stuff since the last video. I found a use for one of the light strip kits that I've been collecting when they go on big sales. It's unplugged right now, hold on. The whole thing is lit. Now it's not just for effect, it's for working lights. So now I don't have to get in with my phone light or studio light or anything to see what I'm doing when I do need to get in here and work. Everything is lit. I got strips all the way top to bottom on all 4 corners, tucked back in so you don't see any of the LEDs. All you see is the light glow. They're RGB, they're smart home compatible, tied into the rest of everything. Works fantastically. That really came out well. And that's all it needed. So now, everything is here for easy access when I do need to do anything. Not a big deal. Another cool little simple thing I found were these labels, and these are gonna be for basically everything that's gonna exit the rack. They just peel off. That one's stuck now. Anyway, they peel off and you just stick them around the wire, and they're printed on both sides. They're vinyl, so they don't easily tear off. You can unpeel them at any time. You just run them through your laser printer. They also have a version for inkjet, if you're into that. Got a big pack of them, and it's a super easy template. You just download it and bring it up in your word processor, type what you want, print it, and done. So last night, I literally thought about this in my sleep, woke up and had to look some things up and test some things to verify what I was thinking. I needed a second MiniDSP, which kind of sucks. I mean, it's extra money for almost nothing, but thank goodness for Amazon same-day delivery because it's being delivered today. I also had to get, because of this same problem, a new network switch because I'm out of ports on this one. Not a huge deal there. Again, same-day delivery. But here's why. So in my system here, I have the 2 subs and I have transducers, and the amp is behind the seats there, and that is running off a wireless transmitter kit. Works great, no problem there. The way I have it set up, this receiver has 2 discrete sub outs, meaning they're independently controlled. It's not just a Y-split connection, so it's 2 distinct sub out connections. Those go into the MiniDSP. It's called the MiniDSP 2x4 HD. And the 2x4 means it has 2 inputs and then 4 outputs. So it's like a smart splitter. It's meant to have a sub in, and then you can split it 1 to 4 ways and multiply the signal. But each one has independent EQ and delay and phase and all that kind of good stuff. Well, the problem is that works great for 99.9% of the people that are using it and using it with equipment. But if you have a processor with the new Dirac Live bass control, which has full control of individual subs, you run into a problem when you have a MiniDSP and more than 2 devices. I need 3 discrete inputs. So that means 2 MiniDSPs. Now that in and of itself, not a big deal. Plug it in, it works. Big deal is because I also run this little Raspberry Pi server for bass EQ, which interfaces via hardware, via USB cable, to the MiniDSP to program it on the fly through a web interface like on your phone when you watch a certain movie, which is really cool, and I want to keep that. The problem there is, by default, it only works with 1 MiniDSP. Well, I found a way to work with multiple, and it was a little tricky because there aren't like explicit laid out instructions, but when the other MiniDSP gets here, I think I just have to configure 1 more file and it'll be fine. I had to assign 2 IP addresses to the server, and there's a couple ways you can do it. There is an Ethernet port on here, and you can see I got a temporary cable on there right now because I needed to test to make sure what I did worked. And it also has Wi-Fi. Each of those is an independent MAC address, an independent adapter, and you can assign a IP address individually to those 2. That's what I ended up doing, which luckily is just enough for what I need. Or you can assign a multiple IP address to the same adapter. So if, for example, if you only had Ethernet or you only had Wi-Fi, you can assign multiple IP addresses. I think the limit's 255, 254, something like that, to that single address, that single MAC address. Not a big deal. My problem was my router. I run Google Wi-Fi, the latest version, which is fantastic, by the way, as far as performance. The problem is it only allows static IPs, or actually, what do they call it? DHCP, brain fart, can't think of the term. Not rerouting. Anyway, it's like assigning an IP to a MAC address. It only allows 1 per address. So the more advanced routers out there, you can assign multiple, no problem. But the Google only allows 1. So I had to plug in both. It's running the Wi-Fi and the Ethernet in order for Google to see both of those, and then I assigned an IP address to each one of those. So that was step 1. Not a big deal, but it took a little while because I'm not a Linux expert at all. The second part is the program running on it, and this is why it needs 2 IP addresses. The program doesn't use ports. A lot of things like this use a specific port on an IP address to address multiple devices. That's what it's for. But this program just goes by IP addresses. So basically the program needs a separate IP address for every MiniDSP it's physically connected to. So since I had 2, I needed 2. Luckily, wired and wireless gives me 2. I'm all set there. I know it's convoluted. You probably have no idea what I'm talking about, but just know if you're running Dirac Live with bass control and you have more than 2 items that need discrete outputs, you're going to need 2 MiniDSPs. And the only reason I need to do it like this is because that is on wireless and it has a big delay. So in the processor, that subwoofer, that input or output, needs its own delay because everything else has to be timed from that. That's the longest delay. So I can't just use one of the other sub inputs for the signal, because the delay would be all off. And then what happens is the sub kicks, and then, a fraction of a second later, the transducers kick, and it's garbage. And that's why most people that do butt kickers or bass shakers or anything like that say it's gimmicky. It's because you can't dial it in without a mini DSP. Or at least a discrete output on your receiver, which most aren't. If you have the type that just has one and you use the Y splitter, or you have the lesser receivers that just have 2 ports, but they're the same signal, you get garbage transducers. They never sync up. The way it's done here, when you do it right, it's seamless. You don't know it. A kick drum hits a sub and it feels like it's all sub. You do not know it's a separate thing in your seat. So, all that out of the way, let's get going. So I guess step one is I need to remotely shut down the server, and then we're just gonna unplug everything. I'll take it in the other room and lay everything out, show you what I'm working with. And before I unplug everything, I don't need to back any of this up because I'm just unplugging the receiver, but just for my records, the delay distance between the subs and the transducers is 20.2 feet. I don't know if the new processor uses feet or milliseconds delay, but I'll convert it if I have to. And one other quick thing I thought of that would come in really handy are these short little HDMI extension cables. No, I'm not using them for signal. One is so I can have a connection at the front for connecting my computer for like when I run REW, because it's really annoying to have to get in the back and plug in to the back of the processor or receiver. So I'm going to mount this somewhere, just leave a receptacle somewhere for easy access. That way I can just plug in here and this will run back to the receiver. The other one is actually going to be like a long dongle for my Firestick 4K, which I only use for streaming HD music. Right now it's on the factory dongle. You can either plug it directly, it's made to plug into a TV, not a receiver. So it sticks out, it's just, a candy bar type streamer box. And they do give you a small little dongle, just a couple inches long, and that's what I use. But I don't want that hanging off the back of the receiver. So I'm gonna mount it to one of these shelves, just like the AppleTV and the Shield, and I'll just run this up to it, and it can sit up there all by itself, because I really want to separate the power cord also and not have that back with the processor. Got everything cleared out. So this is, aside from the amp and receiver that's in there, this is everything that I had crammed inside the cabinet. So you can see why the rack is going to be awesome. All right, first of all, MiniDSP, we're gonna have another one coming. So we'll have 2 of those. We have IR blasters, the Harmony charger, and the hub. Tons of wall warts for everything. You can see why I needed those dongles. The wireless transmitter that goes out to the amp behind the couch for the transducers, the switch, which is getting upgraded. New one won't be too much bigger, but more ports. This is a smart switch that I use to turn on and off the fan in the cabinet, and I'll be using the same here for the new fans. And I also use one of these on the Behringer amp behind the couch for the transducers. Raspberry Pi server, Apple TV, Nvidia Shield, Firestick 4K, sorted wall warts. Let's see, a whole bunch of Ethernet HDMI cables. These are the really good monoprice RCA interconnects, which I won't be using, going to XLR. This is what I use to connect the MiniDSP to the receiver. Won't be using this. I have XLR to RCA cables coming for that. Don't have any RCAs coming out of the processor anymore. I'm gonna keep these because, man, these are just freaking awesome cables. They're not worth a whole lot. I mean, they're inexpensive, but super high quality if I ever need an RCA or an interconnect. I'm tempted just to keep everything. I just don't know what I would do with it, but it's just, oh, so good. And I know I'm not gonna get a whole lot for it, so it kind of sucks. That power strip is not going in. I don't need that anymore. Battery backup, which powers all this little stuff, everything except amps. Let's see, am I forgetting anything? I don't believe so. Okay, let's get things in the cabinet. The new switch just arrived. I use the same one in my office, so I already know it's got good reliability and performance. And the second MiniDSP just arrived. I've got things pretty much laid out here. Streaming boxes on the top and the switch, and then the hub, server, both MiniDSPs, I'll stack them here, and the transmitter down there. Plenty of airflow left. I had to swap out a couple cables. I almost moved one of the power units up here, right here, and replaced that front blank plate, but didn't need to, just swapping out a couple USB cables that we're able to reach, and then I'm just splitting power, running them down the sides here, just about to plug in some dongles and figure out where everything will fit, and I should have just enough ports to do what I wanted to do. Oh, I also want to mention, I just put some felt over these holes here. Believe it or not, this unit is meant to be wall mounted. The casters are optional, and these are meant to actually hang, and this is where the bracket attaches. So there were some open holes here, and I just plugged them purely for airflow, just like I did the sides. So I just needed to put the felt stickers over there, and that was good enough because it's in the back. We are almost set. I got all the power run, got all the networking done, and I'm still waiting on the processor. We have the worst UPS route on the planet. We're literally the last street on his daily route. It's been delayed twice already. First it was 4 o'clock, then 5:45, then 7. It's already after 7. Seeing where he is, he's got at least another hour to get to us. He goes all through the rest of the neighborhood, through the gated community here, and then hits us and goes home. Yeah, so anyway, I'm getting tired, man. I've been working over 12 hours today already, not on this exclusively, but been up and working since 6 this morning. So, got everything lined in here. Power is run and routed nicely through the cable organizer. Got things tied down that need to be tied down. All the networking coming through. This white one is going to be going out to the wall, and it'll be coming out a hole right about here, so I just got it tied up for now. And the line from the TV is still in the living room. It'll be coming in. You can see the new switch there getting populated nicely. Got the Firestick 4K there, and the dongle will go just down to the shelf here and plug into the processor. These are the 3 XLR RCAs that are plugged into the MiniDSPs. Got those all configured, good to go. Interestingly, the new one has a slightly newer firmware. I don't see any functional differences, but they don't allow you to update it anyway. So I'm using the bottom one here for the transducers, and the top one here for the subs. Got those inputs, really nice monolith cables. Great bargain on those. Got to trim that off a little bit there. The custom Velcro mounts, oh man, that worked out beautifully. You just trim everything to size, and works on cables, works on components there. I got the server strapped down because it's so lightweight, the cables just pull it out of the way. Got the USBs here. Gotta put that up. You won't see it from the front at all because of the plate. Those go from the MiniDSPs into the server to control them. And the Harmony hub here, I decided to move the charging cradle over to our kitchen counter next to our seats. It would be more convenient. It doesn't have to be anywhere here. I really want to get a spare one, tear it apart, and kind of build it into our seat somehow, into the cup holder maybe, or the armrest. Yeah, that'd be really neat to have the charger right into your seats. But for now, I'm going to move it because it would stick up too tall here. It would just look kind of funny. It blended in well enough with the short cabinet, and it's a shorter reach. Let's see, Apple TV, Nvidia Shield. HDMI cables are not run yet. Waiting till the processor's here just so I can manage those. And I got the amp, all the power down below. It's a little messy, but everything's up out of the way and it's all power down there anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But the dongles worked out beautifully. I have 1 spare battery backup slot, plenty of just standard power strip slots. So that works very nicely. All I have left to plug in is the processor when it gets here, and that'll go into that last battery backup slot. So I planned that perfectly. And I got the fans working. I got the switch here. I don't anticipate ever needing to change it. I just have it set on low, but I can just pop off the side panel here and hit it if I ever want to. And I verified here that they work and everything, and still nice and almost silent. You just hear a whoosh of the air. You don't hear the fans themselves. It's just, and you get more than a couple feet away from it, can't hear it at all. The refrigerator, I mean, I don't know if you can hear it. That's the freezer here. That's louder than the fans. I mean, it's below the noise floor of the room, so totally fine. Okay, still waiting. Well, look what just arrived. Oh yeah, I gotta take it out. Gotta look at it. Gotta see the beast. Definitely not gonna have it fired up till sometime tomorrow. We'll get it set in the rack at least. Looking pretty. So for those of you that want a receiver, but you still want this too, they do make it. You can get the SBR-35, which is the processor and a bunch of amplifiers in one unit. So it's a nice integrated receiver with all the benefits of the SDP-55. I don't know how many people are gonna do that though. I mean, if you're doing this, I would imagine there's like a 99.999% chance you're running separate amplifiers. I can't imagine anybody spending, and it's more. It's more than the processor. I can't imagine anybody spending that and not having awesome amplifiers, but it's available. So big old manual. I've actually read through all of it online in the PDF, but nice to have. And it's nice to handle this. It's only, I don't know, 35 pounds, something like that. Less than half the weight of my receiver. And I'm gonna need two hands just to pull this out. Let's get it on the bench. So this is what's in the box. This is what you get for your thousands of dollars investment. Investment, that's funny. Expenditure. So first off, I have to say I'm very impressed by the looks and the quality of it, which obviously you should be, but it's head and shoulders above even top level receivers as far as the feel. I've got this knob here that has indents. It's not free spinning, but it's just enough. It doesn't feel rubbery. Feels very Bang & Olufsen, if you know what I'm talking about. If you've used their stuff, this is really what it reminds me of. You've got these soft touch buttons here. They barely have an indent. Just a bare little tick, and they don't really move. You just kind of have to touch it with your finger. So that's nice. Obviously, I haven't turned it on yet. I got to do a firmware flash. The box says it's at 146. I don't remember if that's the latest. I think 149 is the latest. Anyway, that takes a couple hours. Doing it via USB to be safe. And then some other people have said that also updates a couple things over the air once you do that. But doing it via USB is always safer than over the air for main firmware. Got an aux port and hallelujah, a normal size freaking headphone port. I am so sick of having to use adapters because I'm sorry, it's not 1970. We don't use 1/4-inch plugs anymore, people. That's awesome to see that. Nice clicky power button. Love that. I assume it just takes it from off to standby because you can control it, but it is a physical button. Okay, and then accessories here. Power cord, of course. We got 3 antennas, 2 for Wi-Fi, 1 for Bluetooth. Yes, you get an external Bluetooth antenna for better connectivity. Love that. We have, well, that looks like an AM antenna. Who the hell? No, that looks like a dipole FM antenna. Well, still, who the hell uses that? I haven't plugged one of those in years. Yeah, the AM is that loop. I don't even know where I have those. I probably have a collection of those in the garage. We got a long USB cord, and that is for this. Pretty much a poor man's UMic 1. I believe you do have the option to use your UMic 1, which should give better results than this. Not that this is bad, but I don't know if this is individually calibrated. Maybe you can download a calibration file. I haven't gotten that far yet. But I have the UMic 1, and then I know that's an excellent mic to use, so I'm going to use that. Anyway, you do have a full calibration setup here. Note, no stand, no tripod or anything, so you do need to have your own mic stand. which you should anyway, even with the UMic 1. But with the UMic 1, you at least get a little table tripod to set it up with. And then the remote. Okay, this surprised me. I was a little skeptical because looking at it, kind of looks like, well, my Sony from my TV, which sucks. And this doesn't. This is really nice. First of all, it fits in the hand really well. It's plastic, but it's got a little bit of a texture to it, just enough to not feel like cheap plastic, and it's got a really good weight. It's got this little finger groove here, so it's really comfy just to hold in your hand. I got big hands. It's got a nice gentle curve down there. The buttons are what sells it though. First of all, the D-pad is indented. It's nice and smooth, so it fits your thumb really well. The buttons don't wiggle too much. Pretty much on par with the best remotes out there that I've had and felt. They are rubber, but they don't feel soft and gooey. And the cool part, it's backlit. You get a nice gentle blue glow. It's actually showing more blue on the phone. It's closer to white in real life. And it activates on any button press. You get a little green confirmation light up here. Tons of programmable buttons. Yes, it is a full learning remote. I won't be using this at all. I'm going to do the opposite way, and Harmony is going to control this for me. But if you don't have Harmony, I can't imagine, again, anybody spending this kind of money not having some kind of control system. Usually, Control 4. Harmony is probably the poor man's system for anybody with this. But if you want to use this and control your other stuff, use CEC, you can do so. You get full control and anything you want to program. So that's really cool. Nice clicky action. They don't feel gummy or domey or anything. A little bit of a scoop on the volume button. Very easy to, memorize just with muscle memory. So that's cool. Very impressive remote. Okay, I will catch you guys in the next video when we actually plug it in and finish up the rack. See you next time.